Today, I'll be reviewing episode 5 of the Urusei Yatsura remake. Last time, we got to see Kurama and how she's a rather likable character. As far as episodes go, this made me laugh, and we see something different with Ataru. As to why I think this, I'll say it here. Warning! The school nurse gave me the spoilers! The episode begins with Cherry cooking fish with his cat. Ataru pops up and Cherry tells him that he's gonna be chaperoning for someone today. Ataru's classmates tell him that there's a new school nurse and that the new nurse is attractive. Ataru, being his horny self, decides to rush towards the nurse's office. Upon arriving there, he sees that the other guys are in there too. Shotaro even proposes to her but she declines. Ataru notices that the voice sounds familiar. Isn't that Sakura from episode 2? One of the classmates asks Ataru about her and he says that she's a shrine maiden who is related to Cherry. We see a Sakuga moment describing us how attractive she is. The guys all have crushes at Sakura and they try proposing to her. She gives them all a bonk on the head for being horny. Truly, she's the best Sakura. Take that, you useless pink-haired simp! The beast nurse complains that all the student guys in school are horny. All of a sudden, some PE teachers show up and ask for her help. We get introduced to the first half's title, The Glove of Love and Conflict. Quite the fitting title here, Rumiko Takahashi. We're back to having two-parters now. The PE teachers from earlier ask her to exercise these boxing gloves. As one of the PE teachers is about to explain the problem, Cherry and Torajima show up fighting over Cherry's breakfast. She gets so mad that she bonks her uncle, Torajima, and one of the boxing gloves from earlier with a chair. They notice that one of the boxing gloves is missing now. When Lum is flying to school, that missing boxing glove had hit her square on the head. She asks her darling about it, and he says that it's a boxing glove. After wearing it on his right hand, he suddenly strokes Lum's head. The boxing glove stuck to his hand, and he touches Shinobu with it too. Wait a minute, he's touched both Lum and Shinobu by accident. Regardless, Lum shocks him before trying to explain something. Apparently, the boxing glove is making him touch other people. He's telling the other guys that he's being controlled by the glove, and Shotaro doesn't believe it. After all, Ataru is always horny. The boxing glove is making Ataru touch Shotaro as well. He pushes Shotaro away and Shotaro tries to off Ataru with his sword. For once, Ataru is the voice of reason here. Sakura and the PE teachers show up and she says that the glove is possessed by a grudge from beyond the grave. She says that the glove is called the Love Clincher, and one of the PE teachers explains that it's cursed to make the wearer do a clinch hold within range. The balding PE teacher then says that wearing the other boxing glove makes it even worse. He puts the other boxing glove on Ataru's left hand and he punches his homeroom teacher due to the boxing gloves. The balding PE teacher mentions that the other boxing glove is called the Rage Hitter, and as we saw earlier, it makes the wearer punch someone within range regardless. Sakura says that the boxing gloves are cursed because a boxer wore those in the past. The PE teachers say that the particular boxer was a rather lonely man. Cursed indeed. Ataru then does a clinch hold on Lum and tries punching her. But he ended up punching himself and Lum approves. Lum's reaction now has a sound effect. Based. Even Shotaro praises Ataru now. Because Shotaro went close, he got punched by Ataru. Lum tries getting close too, but Ataru avoids her. Sakura has an idea. She puts Ataru and Lum in a boxing ring with a barrier. You thought Inuyasha's the only work of Rumiko Takahashi that does this spiritual barrier thing? Lum tries chasing after Ataru and he hits himself again and again in order to protect her. Ataru is now a Gigachad. He finally gets knocked out and the curse is finally lifted. But alas, Ataru goes all horny over Sakura again. She wears the boxing gloves and beats up Ataru for being horny, and so the first half ends. The second half begins with Ataru leaving for school and Lum follows along. She sees a couple holding hands and wants to try it too. But alas, Ataru's womanizing again. And so we get the second half's title. How I've Waited for You. Another fitting title. Shotaro here gets many love letters from the girls in the class. The guys in the class are jealous at this and one of them has a plan. They write a fake love letter to Ataru complete with having a kiss mark on it. Ataru gets that love letter and the guys say that the girl who sent it is attractive. He reads the letter and it even has parts where it's dissing Shotaro. The wealthy guy is mad and Ataru shows him the love letter. He says that the handwriting is crude, that she is called Otoko Kumino, which means men from the classroom. This is proof that being horny makes one very stupid. Case in point, Ataru kisses the kiss mark. Lum shows up and Shotaro says that Ataru is very happy over just one love letter. Ataru brags about it and Lum tries making Ataru jealous. Too bad, Lum. That's not working. The two idiots decided to do a bet. If the love letter is fake, then Shotaro becomes class president. And if the love letter is real, then Ataru gets 10,000 yen from Shotaro. The guys back Ataru in that bet, complete with paying some girl 3,000 yen to play the role of Otoko Kumino for an hour. The next day, we learn that Ataru is going to go on a date with Otoko in the afternoon. Lum, you're being very sus here. Since any woman who has the hots for Ataru is as nutty as a fruitcake, then doesn't that make you one as well, Lum? Her plan of making Ataru jealous is failing again, and she shocks him. If anything, it's Lum who is jealous of Otoko. She overhears how the girl that the guys had paid to play the role of Otoko is sick because she had spent all that money on food. She realizes what's going on. Ataru plans to treat the guys for dinner and Shotaro is gloating as well. If Shotaro becomes class president, then it's gonna be hell for all of the guys in the class. Lum says that she can't help Ataru this time around because she's truly mad at him. Later, the guys all wait at that cafe. Lum says that he deserves being treated as an idiot. While they all wait, Lum realizes that she truly cares about Ataru. As the guys are about to leave, someone shows up. Wait a minute, Otoko Kumino is real? Hold up. Ataru realizes that it's just Lum in disguise, and she tells him to just go along with it. They leave the cafe, and Lum scolds Ataru for falling for an obvious prank. While they're walking home, Lum sees another couple that's holding hands. Ataru realizes that Lum is attractive. As Lum is about to fly for home, Ataru holds her hand. They hold hands while walking home together to some really good music. Here is a sample of it from earlier. Later, we see Lum talking to her dad and he scolds her for forgetting their clan's annual event. We see a redhead with some dudes and so the episode ends. I love this episode. The first half is based off the second half of episode 5 from the original and chapter 216 from the manga. The second half is based off episode 10 from the original in chapter 26 from the manga. In the original, Sakura showed up as a nurse in Ataru's school and he wasn't horny over Sakura, whereas the remake follows the events of the manga more closely, complete with the boxing gloves. The main difference between the manga and this episode's first half is that Sakura is in her family's temple in the manga, whereas she's in the school nurse's office in the first half of this episode. Also, it was Ten chasing after Torajima in the manga, while it was Cherry that was chasing after and fighting Torajima in the remake. As for the second half, the original was happening on Christmas Eve because episode 10 is a two-part Christmas special. 10 is in there, the people who did the fake love letter thing was some stormtroopers, and Shutaro hadn't shown up to the school yet. If anything, Shutaro Mendo wouldn't even appear in the original until episode 11 for the two-parter New Year special, and then becomes a permanent character in episode 14. Compared to this, the second half of this episode follows the manga more closely. This episode shows us a different side to Ataru. Usually, the guy is a very horny simp towards every girl except for Lum. And yet, we see him defending Lum from getting punched in the first half, proving that while he's usually a very horny idiot, there are also times wherein him being an honorable man shines through. This episode also implies that he cares for Lum. Aside from him defending Lum in the first half, there's also the fact that he held her hand near the end. This episode also shows us the first actual fight between Ataru and Lum. What do I mean by this? Normally, Lum shocks Ataru whenever he's being horny and inconsiderate. And yet, she didn't shock him after she had found out that Ataru was being pranked. Instead, she just ignored him until she had realized that Ataru would deal with an actual problem, so she had decided to save Ataru in the end. Perhaps it is Ataru's kindness that endears him so much to Lum. There's also something odd in this. In both the manga and in the original, Ataru says that he owes her once again, whereas in the remake, he simply says that he owes her. In the manga, this corresponds to chapter 3. In the original, this happens in the second half of episode 1. I just hope that this romantic theme music will be released on YouTube someday. Also, modestly dressed Lum strikes again, and she's truly awesome. Who is that redhead? Come join me next time as I'll review episode 6. Support small channels like mine by subscribing and liking this video.